Multiblind is a very complex event. There's a lot of different skills that we're combining when we do multiblind. When we practice multiblind, we're practicing all of those things at the same time. But usually when you practice multiblind, you just do an attempt as if it was a WCA competition. It takes 1 hour. You attempt however many cubes you would attempt in a competition. Obviously, you should do some practice attempts that are as close as possible to what you would do in a competition. But I think there are a lot of other ways that you can practice for multiblind that are more targeted at the specific skills that you need for multiblind. They will help improve these skills more efficiently than if you were just doing regular 1 hour attempts. Some people that really focus on multiblind don't practice 3-blind much, and I am one of these people. As you can see here, I'm not really that good at 3-blind. I'm not even that good at multiblind, to be honest. But I've realized that the more you practice 3-blind, not only will you be better at 3-blind, but it will definitely help you be better at multiblind as well. If you're faster at tracing the cube, faster at memorizing, faster at execution, your multiblind attempts will take less time, which means you can add more cubes. If you don't have much spare time, or if you can't be bothered practicing multiblind, you can at least do some 3-blind. This one only really applies to people using UF/UFR buffers, so 3-style or Roscoe, and the weak swap tracing method. I'll link below to Graham Siggins' videos on weak swap, but it's slightly different to how we do it in 3-blind, so it's something that we should specifically practice. After I started doing edges first with weak swap, I made a lot of tracing mistakes in multiblind, especially when there are flipped edges. So one good way to practice this is just by doing a lot of edges only 3-blind solves. So use normal scrambles, just memorize edges and just solve the edges. If you don't have a list of words for your letter pairs, it really helps to make one. You can waste a lot of time thinking of a word to use during the attempt, especially for difficult letter pairs. If you do have a list, it's a good idea to study it using a flashcard app like Anki, because if you instantly know what word you're going to use for any letter pair, it will speed up your memorization. I actually use PAO, so I've got 3 words for every letter pair, which is maybe a bit silly, but it works for me. I'll be doing another video all about PAO soon, so look out for that. Especially if you use 3-style or I guess a Roscoe, it really helps to know your algorithms really well and be able to execute them quickly and reliably. It can help your execution speed quite a lot and also reduce execution mistakes. I use a flashcard app. It just has all the letter pairs, so for each letter pair you just execute the algorithm and then the inverse. I probably spend more time drilling the corners algorithms because I find them more difficult and I tend to mess them up a bit more. Alright, this is my favourite one here. The competition environment is different to the room you practice in at home. There will be more distractions, so you need to be prepared for that. Everyone's different, but I really struggle with distractions and the competition environment in general. You can practice for that by adding distractions when you're practicing. The idea is to get used to distractions, learn to block them out, and stay calm and focused. So you could try practicing in a public space or a room where there are other people around, but it would be a bit weird and I wouldn't really recommend that. But what I do is have a screen in front of me with a playlist of YouTube videos. It might not seem like it should have much effect, but the first time I tried it, I found it extremely annoying and distracting. But after doing it a few times, I got better at ignoring the video and just focusing on the memorization. I even managed to get a result equal to my PB, which is 19 out of 21. But does this translate to competitions? Well, at my last competition, I was able to focus quite well, and I didn't get bothered by distractions at all, really. I did DNF, but that was for other reasons. So you probably have a particular number of cubes that you can do comfortably within the hour with no real danger of hitting the time limit, and that's the number you'd do in competition probably. If you practice with a slightly bigger number of cubes, it might take you longer than an hour, say 10 or 15 minutes over the hour. It will feel hard, but the idea is to stretch yourself. You're training your memorization capacity and mental stamina. You have to memorize more and concentrate for longer. Then when you go back to your comfortable number, it'll feel relatively easy. Also, doing these bigger attempts will make you faster, Eventually you might be able to do that bigger number sub-hour. But just a word of advice, don't grind these extra large attempts just before a competition, because you'll probably get burnt out. The reason I think it's good to do small attempts is because there's less mental fatigue, less stress, less time commitment, and you can do more of them without getting the mental burnout. If all of your attempts are super safe and you're doing 5 pass on the long-term cubes for every attempt, you might want to try doing some attempts with one less review, because you don't want to be relying too heavily on your final review. So when you're doing one less review, you're training yourself to memorize more strongly. It should go without saying, but you should analyze your DNFs in multiblind. Sometimes I can't be bothered doing it, but when I do, I keep a record of what type of mistakes I made. So it could be failed recall, wrong tracing, execution mistakes, or messing up the order of rooms in my memory palace. It helps because I know what I need to work on. There might be specific algorithms I need to revise, or letter pair words that could be better, or whatever. It's not very good to use the same memory palace twice in a row, especially if it's just the day after you last used it, because you'll still remember some of your memo from the last time. But if you've got more than one memory palace, you can practice more often, because you'll have more time for your memo to clear out of the memory palace and get forgotten so it doesn't interfere. I also find that freshly created memory palaces work better than old ones. Okay, that's about it. Hopefully you found some of these ideas helpful. Maybe I should go practice some multiblind instead of making videos about practicing multiblind.